innovation arc, the Mindskillz Leadership C-Suite series, bringing together senior leaders from India and across the globe. Real conversations that shape leadership in a rapidly evolving workplace. I'm really happy today to host Deven Sharma, Chair Rock 360, former President of Standard & Poor's, ex-Chairman CRISIL, MIT Media Lab Fellow, and a seasoned venture investor. He brings a rare blend of operating leadership, global strategy, deep expertise in data and analytical-driven businesses. So Deven, my first question to you is, as part of your early journey, looking back at your early career from consulting to strategy and leadership, what experiences most shaped your thinking as a global business leader?
Well, thank you, Kavita, for having me, and I'm very happy to share my experiences. I would say sort of at the core were a few skills that you learn as I moved from really manufacturing job at the shop floor to then doing a PhD to getting into consulting and then into operating roles in media and then information businesses and then capital markets. And I would say at the core of all of this was the ability to sort of think forward strategically. Second, I would say, was the ability to think through how to take a problem and solve them. And that really means taking a problem and breaking it into sub-pieces and then re-synthesizing and connecting the dots across those pieces. And the third was sort of building relationships with customers or internal with employees. Those become very important. And I would say the fourth was sort of keeping an eye on learning. And for my personal self, I'd made every transition point a point of learning for me. And even when I was within a role, learning new things was very important to me. And I would say collectively these experiences helped me shape my opportunities. But the essence was whatever opportunity came, whatever task came in front of me, I focused on doing it with excellence. And that doing it with excellence, with authenticity, with integrity, that always opened the door for newer opportunities, and excelling in those opportunities continued to open and gave me the trajectory that I'm privileged and fortunate to have had.
So this is what you are very well known for, Deven, in the industry. As President of Standard & Poor's and Chairman CRISIL, you led organizations through regulation, disruption, global expansion. What were the toughest leadership decisions you had to make, and what did you do about it?
Yeah. In any organization, there's always an element of uncertainty in the market, uncertainty in the environment, and particularly in today's world, the geopolitics and the regulatory environments are becoming more and more uncertain and rapidly changing. In that scenario, you have to be very clear what the North Star for the company is and what the North Star for yourself is. And when you start to organize your own thought process, your own decision making around the North Star, it actually starts to become easy to persuade the rest of the organization. And once they begin to embrace it and understand it, really decision making for them becomes easy. You don't have to make decisions. They know what's important to the organization, why it's important, and they begin to follow it. So in the case of S&P, we made the investor as a customer our North Star and made sure that everything we did within the confines of the regulatory or the constraints of the regulatory environment or the political environment, that we were there to serve the customer and their needs and do it with confidence, do it with authenticity so that they could trust whatever information we gave them was that they could somehow use it for their own decision making. When you begin to do that, everything starts to come together. And then it's easy to even navigate and pivot, because in any organization you have to always continue to navigate and pivot.
Thank you. Today's role as an investor and advisor, that's another big change in your life which you took. Now as a venture investor, a strategic advisor working with next generation data and analytical companies, what patterns do you consistently see in companies that are successfully scaled versus those that they don't?
Yeah, there are a few things that are must-have that would be true for any organization, any business, whether it's a mature organization or a startup organization, and that is the market opportunity has to be there.
True.
And that really means there has to be a set of customer problems that the customer has, or a customer need that the customer has, that's not being solved, and it can be solved in a very different way. And when it's solved, then the customers will come to you. If you have to sell the customer to convince them that this is a need that they need to solve, then you are an uphill battle. But if you are really tackling an important problem that the customers are already facing, and you give them a solution that makes their life easier, it takes the friction away from them, it either reduces cost or makes them perform better, these opportunities then begin to really come together really nicely. The bigger those problems, the bigger the customer base, the bigger the opportunity to scale. So I always look, is this problem real? Is this market opportunity, market size, the addressable market really big? Is it scalable opportunity? That is the starting point for me. The second is the business model sustainable? Is it differentiated? Is this unique from what people are doing? There are a lot of times people say, well, there are many people doing things. That never backs me off or takes me away from focusing on an opportunity, because there may be many players doing it, but if you can do it better, you do it differently in the business model, in a problem that already exists, I think that creates a lot of opportunities, and I'm always looking for that. But the most important is first people. And if the founder and the founding team, I find if they have 2 or 3 attributes, then it makes me more lean towards it. First is, do they have self-awareness of what they're good at, what they're not good at, what they know, what they don't know, because we don't know what we don't know. And if the founder comes in, they have to have confidence. But if they have overconfidence that they think they know everything, which means they are not keeping their eyes open, they're not watching for things, which means as things change, they may not be able to pivot quickly. And when they're not able to pivot, the business sort of starts to falter. And thirdly is, the founder has to have the ability to learn. If they stop learning, they don't have curiosity, and they don't know how to get people together and mobilize them, I kind of stay away, because maybe the best business model, maybe the best opportunity, but if they don't know how to mobilize and move people in the right direction and pivot when they need to, I have found those businesses don't succeed. There are businesses where they have not worked out well for my investment, and I would say the biggest reason was the founder was not self-aware, did not listen, was not curious to learn, and was reluctant to pivot, was too rigid about themselves.
Okay, so not being flexible, I guess, was one of the reasons of failure, where things didn't work out. So my last question to you, Deven. In today's AI-driven world, what mindset, skills, choices should Gen Z focus on if they want to build meaningful, future-ready careers?
Yeah. At every stage, if you go back 50, 70 years, new technologies have come into play. So being able to know and learn about the new technology, being able to learn about it, use it, embrace it is the starting point. But at the core is the problem solving. If you don't appreciate problem solving, then you wouldn't know how to use the technology in the right way for solving the problems that you need to solve. So I would say problem solving is a core to it. Creativity is a core to it. How to take the problem and use the technology in creative ways, different ways that you can bring better solutions to the customer is a very important part of skill set. And the third is people engagement. At the end of the day, any technology, any solution, you have to persuade customers to adopt it, embrace it, and use it. And they only do that when they have trust and they have confidence that the person who's trying to convince them, they can be trusted. So those skill sets are always going to be important. How you use the technology to bring and use those skill sets to your customer and the marketplace will always remain absolute, and that's what I would say today's generation of people should keep focusing on.
Thank you, Deven, for your time. It was a pleasure having you with us today.
Thank you.